So from a novice's perspective that doesn't really know architecture, they would assume that that brick is actually structural to the building.
It's purely like a rain screen, basically.
It is porous. It lets moisture through. So there has to be this air barrier behind it for it to drain.
And people don't understand that. They just think it's a surface that it's like drywall on the inside, painted any color you want. It's not going to affect the performance. But it doesn't function like drywall on the inside.
Yes, because paint is an air barrier.
If you use the wrong type of paint, yes, it can act like an air barrier. And when this painted brick trend started a couple of years ago, people weren't using the right type of product. And they were basically locking in any moisture that was behind the brick and preventing it from escaping. And that can cause serious mold and mildew issues and rot to the substrate behind the brick.
It goes back to the idea of renovating your old home with new technologies. You have to be familiar with how the building was intended to perform. Like these older homes were intended to be able to breathe. Therefore, renovating with something like spray foam might not be the best idea.
So there are a lot of people that get angry with me in the YouTube comments if I say something like that, like houses are meant to breathe. But when I say that, I mean that, or we mean that the house works as a system. Like changing one component is going to have an effect on the others. Like we're not saying that leaky homes are a good thing. We're saying that if you put closed cell spray foam in an old building, but don't change your HVAC system, don't look at how many air changes are occurring inside the building, that's where you're going to have an issue. You have to think of it as a system. There are two reasons why I hate painted white bricks. One, because you're changing the way the brick performs. And two, because it looks terrible after a couple of years. Like brick has this patina to it and has these variations. So if a certain part of the brick, like the lower part of your building, gets discolored, it's not as noticeable because there are overall variations in your building. But when it's all painted white, dust accumulates in the grooves and it's very noticeable.
Our house, for example, it does not have gutters and drains. Therefore, the water just comes right off the roof and it splashes and hits the brick. And so we have some darker spots, which can be cleaned off. But if you paint it bright white, then that's really going to stick out.
So you also have to make sure that you have gutters and downspouts installed and all the water is not splashing back on your brick and is drawn away from the building. You can't just paint your brick and then walk away from it and say it's going to magically change the appearance of my building now and I'm done.
It's one of those flipped home features that people like. They want all their walls painted. They want their countertops white.
That you talked about a TikTok we watched, right, recently?
Oh, yeah. The TikTok was about 10 things that people believe add value to their home. And they were all these essential things like water heater, your air conditioning unit, new windows, things like that do affect the performance of your home. And if you're really knowledgeable about your home functions, yeah, you might think that it increases the value of your home. But in reality, 90% of people just want an updated kitchen and bathroom that's white. And that's all they want, and they're happy.
That's unfortunately the truth. That's what we're trying to change here.